We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight. Guys, it's here. It is here. Florida State kicks off 5 p.m. Central Standard Time Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it. It is football season. We have finally made it. And I got to tell you, I am pretty freaking excited. So we will be breaking down Florida State this week. We have done a pretty extensive game film and game prep. We'll be talking to our good buddy TJ Pettinger, I think either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, as we'll now start to break down Florida State. Some things that I see, some things I think LSU will exploit. And guys, I got to be a little bit honest, and we'll see what happens this Saturday. I think LSU is going to beat that 3-point spread at a pretty, I say wide margin. What I mean by wide margin from a sports betting perspective, I think they get above and cover more than 10. I think LSU can get to that 13, but obviously we have to get to and see what this Florida State team is about. They play a very, very underwhelming Duquesne team. So it's here, and we'll be talking about it as well. But you know what it is. It is Monday, so we will be firing off the Ruffino's rants. Look, LSU scrimmage, LSU's final scrimmage, or at least LSU's final practice that we know of at the current moment from the media perspective that we'll have the entire practice is going off today. That will be a part of my Ruffino's rants, more of a technical breakdown more than anything. What are like 3 or 4 pillars I want to see tomorrow from this team? 3 or 4 big things that I want to walk away with that will make me feel more comfortable. And they don't consist on the offensive side of the football. They all consist on the defensive side of the football. The Tigers were off today, so we will be talking about the LSU scrimmage. I think the final LSU scrimmage pregame. And look, let's not get anybody hurt, as that has been a staple of LSU so far. Not a lot of young men have been hurt, and that is fantastic to be able to get to this point. And a part of the Ruffino's rants is to give a shout-out to Jacob Flint since we've gotten here so far. So, knock on wood that LSU doesn't sustain any injuries. We will get into that. Carter, the Power Bryant, joins us at 7:30. He joins us every single Monday. And you know what it is. Me and Carter go do a very big, deep dive into LSU. We both talked about some things today and some things we'll be talking about today on the show. And that segment's probably going to be really good. You're going to want to stick around for it, as you always do. And we have mentioned the Florida State week. And Zach, write a note down. I'm getting to the Rudy Poo of the week, because I am not sure if you guys saw a lot of people are calling, and Emanuel Acho is one of these people that is calling Thaddeus Moss very, very bad. I say very bad names, not necessarily, but calling him a dirty player and all this kind of stuff. Emanuel Acho, dude, you sucked. You were like Kurt Angle when the music hit. You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. Emanuel Acho. Before you start taking character shots at people, maybe you should explain to the world why you got kicked off of hosting The Bachelor and why you were trying to hook up with all the women that were there on The Bachelor. You need to stop, dog. Before you start taking character shots. See, the problem with Thaddeus Moss is Thaddeus Moss can't give you and can't fire back on Twitter, nor if you have ever met Thaddeus Moss, does he probably give to Rudy Poos about what Emanuel Acho says, who's probably one of the biggest busts we ever see. See, the problem is, excuse me, when you attack a tiger, you attack all of us. So Emanuel Acho calling him a dirty player when that exact play, and if you didn't see it, Thaddeus Moss did a cut block on first-round pick Kayvon Thibodeau, and a lot of people are calling it dirty. It's not dirty. It's not dirty. So Emanuel Acho, you Rudy Poo. We'll get in that. So, Zach, before we hit end, make sure, even if you got to come live on screen with your Tim Tebow haircut, make sure with your Doctor Strange goatee that we get it done. See, I said that I wasn't going to make fun of Zach. That was all last week, dude. Grow up. Grow up. Oh, well, Blake, Zach runs your show. It makes it so much better. Oh. Like I care. I love it. I love it. Father Abear firing in right now. He says, Rudy Poo of the week goes to Louisiana summer rain. I seriously had to put my Jeep in four-wheel drive. There you go, Father. I hope everything's okay out there in the 337. Zach, people are mad at me out here in the 337, though, dog. Got to give a shout out to my good friend Brad DuPont from Ronnie's Crackling and Boudin. I posted this today on our social media accounts where we went to lunch, which is Roddy's Boudin. And shout out to our good friend Devin Snow from Hold the Mayo, as he's made this a phenomenon in Louisiana. Red beans on Mondays. The tradition lives on. And I made a very silly joke, and it was a joke that the 337 just can't cook. And I regret it because I didn't mean it. Oh, Zach says he quits. Oh, well. Oh, well. Don't quit, please. All right, let's get to a couple comments, though, before we do get started. Zach again says, we got something exciting coming with AYS soon. That's very true. A lot of people like to get, man, I got that swag, that polo down my back. We got some things going on. Mike Howard on YouTube says, hashtag F the NCAA. I agree with that. Guys, I can't, let me tell you something very quickly to all you LSU fans. I can't stop thinking about this John Emery thing. I can't stop thinking about it. You know, we got, guys, you know what's crazy? And then we'll get into the show. This is the last part, unless something breaks on John Emery's appeal or anything like that. Guys, you do know that we have players, and this isn't funny, and I'm not trying to make light of it or make fun of it. You know that we have players out here from other teams and universities getting arrested for guns and drugs and does not get suspended for the NCAA, and their argument is due process. Meanwhile, you don't give due process to John Emery when his stepfather is in the hospital fighting for his life during COVID. Due process, right? That's your argument. I hope John Emery runs wild on everybody. I hope John Emery kills every single team. I hope he claps Alabama and Tennessee and Ole Miss. I hope he beats the dog shit out of all of you, because the truth is John Emery does not deserve a 15-game suspension when he is in the right standing of the university. Guys, I can't stop thinking about it. Meanwhile, you got guys getting arrested for guns and drugs, and one individual, I can forget his name, but he played in the Pac-12, that was part of a prostitution ring, and he is still on the campus because they're saying due process. I forget the young man's name. Maybe it wasn't this year, maybe it was less, whatever it was. But I remember he played a game or two after that. Like, come on, dude. Come on. All right, Dane Bergeron says, Blake, the truth does hurt. I live in the 337, and the 985 has the best food. Look, man, I'm trying to tell people. They don't believe me. Wade McBride says, sir, the 337's got that fire. So listen here. Let's do this. If you live in the 337, do not put this in the comments, but I guess you will and you can. DM us some places that you like to eat in the 337. I have a very strong suspicion we might be getting out there soon. We'll do a picture, we'll do a video, stuff like that. We'll try to get out there. I love the 337, man. I'm just messing around. I'm just messing around. I love every part of Louisiana. 337 is a big part of that. Okay, Zach, let's do this. Let's pay these bills. We're going to talk about the scrimmage that's coming up here tomorrow. We will be out there. I don't know if we'll be going live at 7 because I don't know when practice is ending. We might kick it back, so stay on tune for that. We might push our time back. That way we can get out to LSU's last full practice that we can see before the season starts. So stay on tune for that. But everybody, do us a favor. So many of you guys are watching us on Facebook. Do us a favor. Hit the like and share. Share to your own social media pages. Share to your all those Facebook groups and stuff like that. There's 250 of you guys, or 225, listening to us live on YouTube. Can we get 200 likes? Everybody, I don't see who likes the page. I don't see who likes the video. So if you are someone who you don't want people to know that you're watching, nobody gets to see it. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. We greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're listening to us on audio podcast, XM Radio, TuneIn app, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. And we had a lot of people subscribe this morning to our AYS message board, ayssnetwork.com/forum. Go over there. We throw a lot of things in there that we don't put out in the general public. Okay, so let's do this. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of 3 big pillars that I want to see tomorrow from LSU scrimmage. But let's pay these bills. Let's talk about our good friends over at GM Vardo & Sons and betonline.ag. Guys, we return in 1 minute and 30 seconds to talk your LSU Tigers. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Vardo & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Vardo & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to make a food segment. You guys are going absolutely bananas in the comments for the best places to eat in Louisiana. So you know what we're going to do? We are going to make a food segment here. I've already made up my mind. So I'm going to figure out what we do, how we do it, when we do it. We might not even do it in the show necessarily. Send me all your best places to eat. DM me all these best places to eat. Ronnie's Boudin was absolutely cracking down today. Zach says something interesting. How about a hashtag AYS cookbook? It's not going to be a cookbook. It's going to be where your ass needs to go to eat. You know what's interesting? Everybody always asks me stuff about, well, Blake, when we come to Louisiana, where do we need to eat? What if someone did a book about that? Hey, this is where I've eaten here. This is where I went to Pie Ranch. I got the grilled fish. Dog, I'm going to Pie Ranch tomorrow. You best bank on that shit. That's Blue Store, I love you. Miss Anita, I love you. But Shrimp Fried Rice Tuesday is going to put a back seat to Pie Ranch. I'm just going to let you know right now. But yes, I've had Billy's before. Billy's, I hope my mama's not watching this. Billy's want to make you slap your mama. You can put that on a cracker, dude. You can put that on a cracker, dude. All right, let's get this thing started. Yeah, and see, Aaron says, I need that book. See, that's what I'm saying. I can make so much money. If any of you Rudy Poo steal this idea, I swear to God. Somebody said, somebody just DM'd, or, oh my God. Eric LeBlanc texted into the show, Blake, I really like to go to the 337 and get those crispy tenders from Raising Cane's. All right, dog. Let's get off this food segment. But we will get into it. I promise you we will get into it. Daddy's doing the show. Okay, come here for you, just a second. They want to see your haircut. Okay. Show them your haircut. You like it? Were you a good boy? Everyone listening on the radio and the audio podcast, my son Ben's here. Okay. You look like Tom Brady. Now, you look like Drew Brees. LSU. 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 All right. Go see your mama. She's calling. Close the door, too, okay? Love you. All right, that's my son, Ben. Pooh Bear, because Zach would never say anything like this about a Boosie fade. Pooh Bear says it's not a Boosie fade. Uncle Pooh Bear is disappointed. Tell Megan that, not me. Get on Megan, not me. All right, so let's do this. We will be at practice tomorrow for the final, or what we expect to be the final big scrimmage or practice that the media does get to see. There are a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. Now, last night, I brought up a concern. And Pooh Bear, I know that Pooh Bear was with us last night. The word that I used was worried, that I'm worried about this defense. After I got more time to think about it, I don't think that I'm worried. I think I'm cautiously concerned. Cautiously concerned. The double C's. Some men like double C's, but I'll digress on that one. Nevertheless, I'm cautiously concerned. Tomorrow, there are three things that I want to see from this LSU football team. Now, you can say, well, Blake, this is practice. You were worried about the pass rush, yada, 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 yada. You're right, I am. But the last time that we went out there, and the last Monday that we talked on the show, I gave you these three pillars. The three things that I wanted to see from the offense last Tuesday was I wanted to see the offensive line dominate. They did that. I want to see one of these quarterbacks separate themselves. I didn't see that, but what we did see was them complete a high percentage of their passes. You got Garrett Nussmeier doing zone reads, picking up first downs, along with Jaden Daniels really dominating and moving the offense. A lot of touchdowns being scored. Saturday, in the last scrimmage that LSU had, it was a lot of the same stuff. The offense completely dominated the day. So what do we want to see now? Guys, I want to see this defensive line that we know that has the potential. And if you believe that LSU's defensive line does not have the potential to be great, you're wrong, because they do have that potential. I want to see them dominate. I want to see this front seven get nasty like they have been to start of camp. I want to see them have some incomplete passes. I want to see maybe a turnover or two. And I won't worry about a turnover this late, especially when the offense has dominated so much. I want to see a balanced scrimmage. If we do that, and if that happens, and if the defensive line dominates like they had been doing in the beginning of camp, guys, I'm going to make my prediction of 9 to 10 wins. And I'm going to go up from 8. The reason I'm going to do that is, man, when you have an offense in today's society, when you can score points at will, and I don't think that LSU just has bums out there on defense. They're not an FCS level team. There's not Vanderbilt defense that we're rolling out there. Hell, this season, even last year's secondary that we're rolling out there, I think it's going to even be better. I want to see them dominate on the line of scrimmage. Now, is there a situation where you have two good quarterbacks and the defense is doing everything right and Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier makes a play? Sure. And you know what? I'm okay with that. If you're in the right position at the right time, I'm okay with that. If Garrett or Nuss Garrett or Nuss, if Garrett or Jaden are making the right throws at the right spots, but the defense is right there to make the tackle, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I want to see LSU start putting in some of their blitz packages. They've been doing it. I want to see them send a little bit more of the house. You can't get to number 5 or number 13, put a little pressure on them. Now, you don't want to get your quarterback hurt 2 weeks away from the scrimmage. So maybe you back out and you don't even attempt it, and I'm okay with that too. But when you have 12 straight drives that all have resulted in points, it's time for the defense to step up. You have 4 defensive linemen that have the potential to do that. One thing that I thought was interesting, and maybe why this defense has struggled a little bit, guys, they're learning a brand new system. You know, the one thing that I've seen from Matt House's defense, the defensive line is going to be a lot like Georgia's from a philosophy standpoint. Guys, they're going to move a lot, meaning whatever the offense dictates, meaning if you got a 2 tight end set to the wide side of the field, the D-line's going to shift. The D-line's going to shift, and they're going to penetrate that way. Completely cool with that. That's what good, successful defenses do. It's what we've seen Clemson do in the past. It's what we've seen Alabama do in the past. It's what we've seen Georgia literally do a season ago. They have the pieces. It's like, I don't really even know what it's like. You know, I've been thinking about this analogy that I wanted to use all day. But they have the tools. They have the resources. It feels to me that this defense is just one big, I don't want to say play away. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's Leon Edwards, the UFC fight from this week. The 5th round, you land a head kick and you knock out the pound for pound number 1 fighter in the country, or not even the country, the world. If they put it all together, this team can be lethal. Because at this point, guys, whether it's Nuss or whether it's Jaden, I think that we're going to move the football. Pooh Bear said something to me last night, and I think he said it again in his show. I don't remember if he said it in his show, but he said something to me that I also have been thinking about. Maybe we underestimated how good Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier really are. Maybe we're underestimating how good of a play caller Denbrock is. Mike Denbrock is. Maybe we're just completely underestimating how good Brian Kelly is offensively. And I'm okay with that. But if you're not a little bit concerned, if you're not even remotely and a little bit concerned about what the defense has put on the field the last 3 scrimmages, then I don't know what to tell you. Lars asked if they can make a 35-yard field goal. Yeah, they can make a 35-yard field goal. That's a good point of what could be worrisome. And look, we'll talk about this with Carter in 4 minutes, but it's one thing that I continue to revert back to is and again, Pooh made that point, is Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier just that damn good? And if you are, and if those 2 young men continue to do what they're doing, I don't know if a 2-quarterback system isn't going to work. Guys, it's working right now. And I don't like saying that. But it's worked. It's worked the last 3 weeks. When Jaden or Nuss get outside the pocket, I do trust, though, Jaden a little bit more because he's going to 9 times out of 10. He's going to throw it if it's open, and if it's not, he's going to run it. Garrett likes to force things, and that's what gets him in trouble. Okay. Carter the Power Bryant in 3 minutes, so let's do this. Let's get to a couple of these comments. Zach Pooh, if you can star as many of them as you can, and we'll get to it. Doug No says Cafe Josephine is 5-star. Yeah, I've been to Cafe Josephine. It's great. Laura's Cafe in Lafayette. Okay. Kelly of Bryant says home on the grill, a ribeye. It's not funny. Mark Spell says Kelly called the D-line elite himself last presser. I'm not worried. He called individuals elite, but I don't care. And this isn't a shot at BK or anything like that. So don't take it as this. I will say this. We got to be careful with that word. And I say this a lot, not just about Brian Kelly. Guys, they're not playing at an elite level right now. Y'all watch the LSU hype video. What did you see? Oh, so of 8 drives, or of 6 drives, you saw 4 touchdowns and 2 field goals? That's not elite. It's not elite. Just because Brian Kelly says something doesn't make it elite. Your eyes don't... Somebody in this chat's going to have to explain to me, then why are they scoring so much? Elite D-lines are what we saw last year. Jeremiah Phillips, what's up, Jay? He says starter will be named tomorrow. I think that a starter could be named as early as tomorrow, or it's going to be, because we have the last scrimmage, or Wednesday. But it's coming this week. I don't buy into this competitive edge. I don't buy into it. Guys, it doesn't matter. You still got to go out and execute. You still got to go out and execute. Doesn't matter. Guys, do you know who Alabama's quarterback is? Do you know who Florida State's quarterback is? Do you know who Tennessee's quarterback is? Do you know who Ole Miss is? Well, maybe the Ole Miss is a bad analogy. Do you know who Mississippi State's quarterback is? Do you know who Florida's quarterback is? Because we do know all those things, and it's not a competitive edge. You still got to go out and compete. Everybody, after the first 7 games of LSU in 2019, did you really think that teams in the SEC didn't? Do you really think with 2 weeks to prepare, Nick Saban didn't know what LSU was going to do? Do you really think that they thought that they weren't going to force the ball to number 1 and number 2? Get out of here, man. All right, couple more, then we got to get to Carter. Carter, the power Bryant. Damian Briggs says the old Danny's Fried Chicken in Franktown. I'm telling you, man, Pooh Bear, you got to experience Danny's Fried Chicken. You will burn a Publix down. You will burn that son of a gun to the ground. Funeral chicken. Mick McGrath says everybody is undefeated at this point. It's very true. Very true. There he is. Look at him. Carter, the Power Bryant, is coming into the show. Saying hello, everyone. So let's do this. Let's get to the man. Let's break down more LSU football. What does Carter think? Is Carter a little worried? We'll find out. But let's talk about our good friends over at Gramco, thegramco.com. But before we do get to our good friends over at Gramco, I can't find it. There it is. Let me tell you about our good friends over at Fry Construction. Fry Construction and Dirt Services, site work and land development, oil and gas services, commercial construction, aggregate and soil hauling, waste containers, demolition. They do it all. They are in the 337. 161 West Maple. That's 161 West Maple. Or give them a call at 337-457-5100. That's 337-457-5100. Let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right, let's hear from our good friends over at Gramco. Guys, we will return in 45 seconds with Carter the Power. Guys, I've got to talk to you about our good friends over at Gramco. They are the Delta 8 company based out of the state of Florida. They're founded by college football junkies just like you and I am not sure if you're familiar with Delta 8, but you need to be. Gramco is the absolute leader in this field, and they have phenomenal products that I just need to tell you about. First off is the Wake and Bake coffee that is absolutely spectacular. The gummies are as well, as they're the best in the market. So go to thegramco.com right now and use the promo code AYS25. That's thegramco.com, AYS25 promo code to get 25% off of your order. Jump on this fast as it is perfect for holidays, anniversaries, and everyday use. Gramco is hemp-derived and completely legal inside of the state of Louisiana. No medical card is needed, and shipping is very discreet. You must be 21 years older to order. Again, that's thegramco.com. Use that promo code AYS25. We're back. All right, we are joined. One of the Power Bryant from Power Hour joins us every Monday here at 7:30. We'll let him tell you where you can catch all of his fantastic content. Carter, what's up, though?
Life's grand. You know, one thing that I talk about all the time, Blake, is being a super dad or a super mom, right? All this stuff doesn't matter, right? LSU football, we love it. It's very important. All the super dads and super moms. Blake, I was blessed to have great parents in my life. My fiance was blessed of having great parents in their life. And I called you last night because I had a little nugget I wanted to share with you, but you're like, shh, I can't talk. Ben's asleep right now. And I was like, look at you being a super dad, because you never push the shady button on me. You never do. And you're like, shh. So shout out to you, Blake, being a super dad. Good stuff.
Hey, here's the real truth. I have a wife that will stab me in the neck if he wakes up. So it's not about me being a super dad. I just actually want to live. And she's pregnant. So he was sleeping in his big boy bed. Ben not only got a haircut, but he got a new big boy bed this weekend.
That's good.
Yes, it is, and no, it's not. All in the same token. All right, Carter's doing it, and I thank you for those kind words. Carter, I was talking before you got on, and it's something that we've discussed off air. Look, this LSU offense, one or two things could be happening. Either number one, this LSU offense is really good, and we have two really, really good quarterbacks, or the defense is starting to struggle. Carter, of the last 12 drives, LSU has scored, and what we've been able to see, they've scored 8 touchdowns and kicked 4 field goals. I don't know about you, but I would call that pretty damn strong of a performance by your offense. Do you worry about this defense with that kind of thing, those kind of things happening, and you're only in fall camp, or is this just a time that the offense should be hitting on all cylinders?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, Blake. I think one thing that's very key is scrimmaging now is so different than what it used to be, because you can't tackle and bring guys down to the ground. And that obviously affects the defense in a major way. But the fact that the offense is moving the football against a defense that has a good idea of what plays are going to be running their way, that's, actually a good thing, more so offensively. Also, Blake, this is very key. The offensive side of the football is more important than the defensive side of the football. And something else that is very important to keep in mind is Matt House is still trying to find his voice as a defensive coordinator, right? You got Mike Denbrock on the other side that was arguably the best OC at the non-Power 5 level and top 10 OC in the country last year. So, you got an experienced play caller in Denbrock who's been doing it for a while now, and you got House trying to figure out who his best guys are, especially on the back end. So, those are very important keys to keep in mind. But you are right, Blake. You should be a little concerned about this LSU defense, right? So we'll see how the pieces actually come together, and we'll see how the defensive line plays together, right? Because, just specifically a few things that you'll see from Florida State is that they are going to try and run the football right at the LSU defensive line. If they play the way that they played last year, I would feel Mike Norvell would look at the defensive line and say, look, they're a really talented bunch, but, hit a few cutback angles and, we can get the running game going. And that was a big issue for the LSU run defense over the past couple of years. Now, one very important thing is that was an issue as the spring game moved along as well.
Exactly.
And it is just a spring game. They did nothing defensively, absolutely nothing. But it is something just to note, right? Even though there were no exotic defensive plays run, and also Mason and Jaqueline didn't play nearly as much in the second half as they did in the first. It is very interesting. And one more thing as well, Blake. I think Miles Frazier is just a really good football player. I mean, he moves people.
He is very good.
Yeah, he's very good. They don't hand the number 70 out to just schlubs, right? It was Ingram, and then before that,
Collins,
Collins, right? They normally will hand jersey numbers off to really, really good football players. So give Miles Frazier shorts. I feel like the guards have had good camps this fall. Give those guys a lot of credit. Those guys can play their season, and even though they weren't playing at the Power 5 level, these guys can play too.
It's kind of twofold, right? Because I don't know. I said I'm cautiously concerned. Okay, meaning, like you said, the last time we saw them in the spring, they started off and they dominated. Okay. And they should have, because the defense obviously should always be ahead of the offense that early. Okay. But as it has gone on, okay, they have not looked great. Now, can there be a scenario where Brian Kelly is trying to build confidence in this offense? Yeah. They're scheming things up and they're making, and Matt House already knows this. Maybe so. But the bottom line is they can't stop number 5 and they can't stop number 13, which Carter, it's one thing if you scored once, you got to stop. You scored once, you got to stop, or you got multiple stops, but they're still scoring. That's not what's happening. Every single possession is turning into points. That alone, and not only turning into points, it's turning into touchdowns. We have 2 Jaden Daniels rushing touchdowns from this past Saturday and 2 passing touchdowns, and Garrett had 3. So my point is in all of this is, at what point do you start being frustrated as a defense and somebody make a stop?
Right. Yeah. And some of this also comes down to LSU's best position group is the wide receiver grouping. And you might be in a very real scenario that your 3 best players on the team could all be in that group. Right. And they're going up against a secondary that's, kind of new. And when you have to draw so much attention to those guys, there's fewer guys in the box that can defend the run. And that's just it, honestly. And look, give Jaden and Garrett a lot of credit. I mean, one thing that we could say about both of them is they are under the most pressure, right? Because quarterback it's either you're in or you're not. Now, of course, you can run 2 quarterback systems, and there is, a somewhat decent likelihood that both of them play versus Florida State. But those guys, I mean, they put their whole life into this, and they have to perform for them to win the job. Basically, everybody out there except for them right now that are playing and working a lot with the ones and scrimmaging, they're going to play at least some, right? If Garrett doesn't prove himself now and Jaden, takes his job or vice versa, then, it might be the end for them. They might not ever get that opportunity. So give Jaden and Garrett a lot of credit. They have looked good in these scrimmages based on just what I'm hearing. You've been able to go to the scrimmage. I've been able to talk to people that have been able to attend, these full scrimmages. They're looking fine right now. And, we'll see. I do think one thing that will be very key, right? And this was the Achilles heel of the LSU defense last year, was defend. And this honestly is just very simple. Okay. It's just defending the B gap. Right. So the way it works is you have a defensive tackle that's in what's called a 3 technique. Then you have another defensive tackle that is in a shade or a 1 technique. Right. So what a lot of teams would do was they would attack that nose tackle and run through the B gap. That's where we had a lot of issues dating back to 2020. And that's where teams are going to be like, okay, let's see if we can do it again. And I think that's what Florida State's going to try and do. Now, Florida State's got a lot of shuffling that's happening on their offensive line, Blake, I don't know how deep you are in your eval of Florida State. I'm not going to look at them until I see the week 0 game, because that's going to tell us more than any type of research that we're going to talk about right now, or any type of past research. But it's going to be fun. But while we are very critical of LSU, Florida State is kind of sort of in turmoil as well. And one more fact about Florida State that I find to be very interesting, okay? Bill Connolly of ESPN does a thing called SP Plus every year, okay? And what happens is it factors in returning production and a lot of different areas of college football when it comes to a new team. And the only Power 5 team that LSU plays this year that has a worse SP Plus rating right now than LSU is Florida State. So while we are going into this game with so much pressure and so much angst, and I know I'm looking at every single one of you LSU fans watching this worldwide, we're so nervous about this game. Understand that we might actually be starting off the season with our most winnable Power 5 game on the schedule, period. So take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. Florida State's got a decent team. You're not just going to run them over, but at the same time, at least this isn't Alabama. At least we're not having to defend KJ Jefferson week 1 or Hendon Hooker week 1. You're going up against Jordan Travis, a quarterback that Brian Kelly's had success against, and you're going up against a Florida State staff that is very nervous right now, Blake. This is Mike Norvell. He is hearing all these rumors. Hey, we need Deion Sanders to take this job right now. But, Mike Norvell has said, look, I'm going to put more pressure on me. I'm going to be the actual play caller and see what happens. So I know we're really worried about LSU, the defense and the offense, and who's going to be the kicker. But keep in mind, Florida State has got a lot of turmoil, and they are under way more pressure, that staff, than LSU staff heading into week 1.
So this is what I know about Florida State. Outside of Jermaine Johnson last year, their defense, they got athletes.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're mirror images of LSU, because I think LSU has more talent than they do, but they have athletes. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like some people think it is. However, Carter, if you're doing this kind of stuff offensively, okay, meaning LSU, Carter, it doesn't matter at this point really for me if it's Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier, and I'm going to come to that to you next.
Yeah.
They're doing it against really good athletes. Like, I had somebody ask me, well, what about Mike Jones not being able to catch up to to Jaden Daniels? Well, he clocked 21 miles an hour. That's why. Okay. I mean, like, the kid's moving. So I do think it's kind of a game like, hey, who's going to come back? Like, who's going to be the team that comes back? And it's going to be really fun. One question before we get to the quarterback race, because we had a pretty intense conversation about that, or just a knowledgeable conversation about that.
Yeah.
Do you find it any? I always believe that it's a very big advantage for a team to see your opponent, your week 1 opponent, a week before that they play. I always believe that. What do you think? Do you think it's a big advantage for LSU?
I would prefer to be the week 0 team. And I'm not just saying that because UCLA, dominated us. It's just there's so much cobwebs. There's no other preseason games. And normally that week 0 matchup for teams is like a soft one for a Power 5 matchup. But honestly, there's so many pluses and minuses on both sides of it that it really shouldn't matter. And also, you don't get any film on the opponent. Now, what you would like to see is Florida State actually get pushed. Last year, Hawaii just kind of gave UCLA the game away, and UCLA had a lot of confidence going into week 1. And let's keep this in mind. I know this is kind of like a sad thing, a very serious thing, but LSU did have to go to Houston. I mean, it was a tumultuous week, leading into that. And to say that didn't have an effect, it did. I mean, Jared Small tore his knee up. That was in the dome. So
your number one running back gets suspended 14 hours before the game starts. I mean,
there's chaos, right? And hopefully there's none of that, this year. So that was obviously a big thing as well. But yeah, I would prefer to be the week 0 team just because you do get a game under your belts. But At the same time, there's a lot of bonuses for not having to go out there because, there's not as much data. There's not a film. There's not anything out there yet of how exactly you're going to line up your offensive line. What kind of plays do you have? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Because, it's a big thing. So we'll see.
I think the biggest advantage is something that you mentioned earlier for Florida State is Mike Norvell, who we know is a really good play caller, gets to have a preseason game that's live and means something, right?
Yeah.
I think that's of anything. I don't know if, outside of injuries, because they can sustain injuries and that could be a big deal. But Mike Norvell does get to call plays live and in action that could gain him some confidence. Like, hey, man, I'm not as bad as everybody says that I am. And has been saying that I am. Carter the Power Bryant joining us. Carter, let's get to the big elephant in the room. I do expect a starter to be named this week at quarterback. I don't know, nor do I necessarily care at this point because I think I've seen enough to where I have confidence in Nussmeier or Daniels. Right. I do think Daniels, if I had to give a nod, like you put a gun to my head and said, hey, who do you think's going to start or should, I would give Jaden the first nod. But if you give it to Garrett, I really don't care. Like if someone made an argument for him, I'm completely okay with it. They've been that good. I guess in your film breakdown, in your study, what have you seen and what do you think as we're coming ever so closely? And Brian Kelly announced that he's going to be naming a starter. What do you think he's going to do? And then what do you think what do you think's going to happen? And what do you think should happen is what I'm trying to ask.
I put 80% that Jaden's going to be the guy, right? You got the 3 years experience. He's playing better. He's obviously taken this opportunity very seriously, right?
Very seriously.
Now,
right.
I will say that I've been lucky to get to know some people close to Jaden, and it's really cool. Watching the channel, it's fine. And they told me a lot that he went through last year, some personal tragedy, and obviously, professionally getting with Joe Sloan up to this point. I'm very happy that he took this opportunity, and I'm comfortable with him starting week 1. Now, for me, as far as throwing the football is concerned, I think Garrett does throw a better ball. I do think he's a better thrower of the football. And that goes all the way back to spring. That's been my stance. Blake, this has been my stance for a while. You put all that together, and it's not just a spring game. Garrett throws the best ball. He just does. Now,
not a question.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that right now.
Well, it's not an argument. It's fact.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. Now, sometimes his decision-making with that isn't the absolute best. So at this point, I would probably start Jaden for one extra reason. And, I want to shout out one of our viewers, Aaron, who played quarterback in high school, and he was a dual threat quarterback in high school. Having a explosive runner of the football brings an extra element to your running back room as well, right? Because if you play zone read, it makes your running backs look a lot better because ends can't crash down if you are doing
that little small backside cut. It's always going to be open.
It's always there. It's always there. And that's like a little film-ish kind of thing. But if that's not your thing, basically if you have an elite runner of the football in the backfield, it's murderous to defensive ends. It's hard to defend against it, and it makes your running backs look a lot better, right? So here's a good example of this, all right? Let's go back to Auburn and Gus, right? And they had a quarterback by the name of Nick Marshall. Well, Nick Marshall made Trey Mason at the time, who Trey Mason I don't think was any more talented than your guy, Terrence McGee. They actually remind me a lot of each other. Well, Trey ran for a lot of yards because Nick Marshall was deadly with the football in his hands, right? So, I think especially now that your running back room is a little bit thinner, it does open up a little bit extra in your playbook for zone read kind of runs if Jaden is back there. Now, does that mean that Garrett Nussmeier is not mobile? No, but he's not a runner in the same sense that Jaden Daniels is. So because of that, I would probably start Jaden, even though I think Garrett's vertical passing could give this offense a little bit more upside, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I don't disagree with anything that you've said. I honestly agree. But here's the thing for me. Jaden's not bad at throwing the football like people thought that he was, right? Like it's there. He's being deadly accurate. I think that that's the thing for me, that if he ever got that very consistent part of his game down in the intermediate passes, that he could be deadly. And if he does that, Carter, they're going to be a very deadly football team offensively, right? Because there's something. And here's another thing: putting Kayshon Boutte in the slot on the little, RPO screen. What does Ali Gay do? I'm looking at Ali Gay on an RPO. He can't crash down. He doesn't know to take Jaden, or he doesn't really know what to do, because then you have a backside screen, and then if whatever decision he makes, he's screwed. Literally, if he goes out to the wide receiver, Jaden's going to cut it up. It doesn't matter. That is the part of the element of this game that I think that when Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock and Joe Sloan sit down and they talk about it, it's like, man, you just can't take that away. The difference is Garrett hitting those long bombs to Kayshon and to other guys. Carter, a couple more. We'll get you on out of here. My favorite host or guest on Mondays, because he's the only one that always shows up on Monday.
Hey, I'll
my favorite, though. We start the week off very great. Our first guest. I gave 3 pillars that I want to see from the defense tomorrow, because we're going to be at the whole entire practice tomorrow.
Let's go.
Brian Kelly's given us. Is there anything that you want to see tomorrow? Like if you had in your mind, like, hey, I want to focus on bam, bam, bam. What are your 2 or 3 things that you would want to see from this team going into the last week before the season starts?
Yeah, Blake, I think the biggest key here is 12 and 11, right? Those 2 numbers are key, right? As far as personnel groupings are concerned. So LSU has arguably the thinnest tight end room in the SEC West, and they have the deepest wide receiver room. All right. And if you run 12 personnel and you have 2 tight ends, so for those that aren't familiar, and you hear these terms all the time, right? If you're 11, 12, 21, or anything like that personnel, the first number represents how many running backs are on the field, and the second number, Blake, represents how many tight ends are on the field. So if you run 11 personnel, which was by far the most common used formation, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers, and obviously the 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback. If you run 11 personnel, that's what you normally do. But Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock, and you've seen this in practice, they like 12. They like doing some things out of 12. And there are a lot of big benefits of running 12 personnel. That's where you're going to need to see Mason Taylor play a big role in this offense, right? Because you have Mason Taylor, you have Cole Taylor, you have Nick Storrs, you have Jack Mashburn. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing, Blake. What are those numbers going to look like, right? I think LSU wants to be able to establish some 12 personnel groupings, because that's what Mike Denbrock likes to do. But obviously, if you run 11 and you have 3 wide receivers on the field, that means if you're running 12, you have 1 less of your most talented grouping on the team and 1 more of your most arguably weakest position on the offense right now, which is tight end, or obviously the thinnest room, if you will. So that's going to be, to me, the biggest thing. And look, I don't care how many. I don't care if you run power eye wishbone. As long as you're moving the football, I'm all about it, right? So whatever the coaches feel comfortable doing, I'm obviously going to be behind it. But that's going to be very key, Blake, because we know, just based on what, if you were to say who's been the best player at practice, everybody that's been at every practice, people that are media, that only have media access, people that attend the entire practice, most would say Malik Neighbors has been the best. So,
without a question.
So we've seen Jure light it up. We've seen BTJ look really, really good. We know what Jack Bash can do, and then you still have number 7. So that's going to be, to me, the biggest thing moving forward for LSU.
Order the power, Bryant. My man, every Monday, where can everybody catch all of your fantastic content? I know. Pooh Bear knows. A lot of people in the chat know. But for everyone that doesn't know where to go, where should they go, Carter, to catch all your content?
Shout out to Golden Boot. Shout out to Tigers Avenue, making you sound good, look good, feel good, play good, baby. That's all that matters.
Pooh Bear don't make me look good.
Yeah, not Pooh Bear.
Look at this Italian olive skin. I mean, olive oil could be, I know Pooh Bear's going to type something funny, be like, yes, I do, Blake. And I'll be like, no,
Yeah.
Italians always look good. But where can they find you, my brother?
Yeah, Power Hour LSU. It's just what we do, man. We just do deep breakdowns, talk LSU football. And I did launch Power Hour SEC, which is just a general.
Excuse me.
Yeah, just launched it, man. Got two big time videos released, man. Kind of a soft launch. I tweeted something out, but
did you open up the show saying Tennessee's going to win the SEC East?
Oh man, of course I included that in the video, man.
Get out of here.
The Vols, baby. The dude, you better watch out, man. Hendon Hooker's coming. You better watch out. No, Power Hour SEC. If you want to see my 2 videos, include a few bets. If you hate Auburn, you're going to enjoy one of those videos. If you hate Georgia, you might enjoy the other one. So go check it out, Power Hour SEC. And Blake, shout out to you once again being a super dad, and we will talk to you soon, my brother.
Later, brother. We'll talk soon.
Later, bud.
All right, that's Carter, the Power Bryant. Pooh Bear says, pause. If I can make Daniel look good, I can make anyone look good. You're not lying, but you don't. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to make me look good because look at me. Women want me. Okay? They want to be all over me. Pooh Bear's probably, yeah, no, they don't. Black Goatee on YouTube says it's $10. Thank you so much. He says, sup, guys. I have a wish list. One Mason Smith to be referred to as Agent Zero. Okay. When Kayshawn scores, I want to hear booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Okay. And number 3, when Malik Neighbors scores, the State Farm jingle. You don't have how's the like a good neighbor. State Farm is there. I got you. All right, so let me round it up like this. I want to round it out with my Rudy Poo of the week. Shout out, though, very quickly to all of our good sponsors, our good friend Carol Foss over at State Farm. You can get in touch with him at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of your insurance needs. Give him a call today and let him know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Let me round it out, and we'll continue to get to this Florida State stuff. We talked about it a little bit with Carter the Power Bryant. We'll pick up more on that tomorrow. Let me say this, though, to round this out, the Rudy Poo of the week. Emanuel Acho, you buffoon. You've played football for so long. How do you play football for this long and think what Thaddeus Moss did in the little zone block that he had against Kayvon Thibodeau is a bad play? Guys, people do this every single week. So you can fire in your Rudy Poos of the week. Mine today is going to be Emanuel Acho. There's nothing dirty about that. Kayvon Thibodeau should know what to do in that situation. And Brian Daboll, the head coach of the New York Giants, says, guys, we do this every single day, multiple times a game. We might do it 12 times a game, and I don't see anybody freaking out. We complain, we moan, we groan. Oh, it's too hard. That's what football is, a violent sport. Kayshawn, or I keep calling him Kayshawn. Kayvon should have known not to do what he did. You don't turn sideways. You don't wince. That's not how you take on that block. Meet him on head speed. Don't duck down, because he's trying to get lower than you are at that point. That's all he's trying to do. When you're trying to go to the floor and be lower than him, he's trying to get lower than you. Let me tell you what Thaddeus Moss isn't. Emanuel Acho, who is a host on FS1's Speak for Yourself. Thaddeus Moss is not a horrible human being or a horrible player. He didn't get caught trying to hook up with the Bachelor girls when you were supposed to host it. He hasn't made outlandish comments like you've made, but yet you target a young man that you know doesn't have the platform enough, nor since he is trying to make a roster with the Bengals, nor can come out here and start making outlandish comments because he would probably get cut. Bet you wouldn't say that in front of his daddy, Randy Moss. Bet you any money he wouldn't say it in front of Randy. So if you won't say it in front of Randy, don't say it at all. Don't be scary. All right, that's my Rudy Poo of the week. We'll get to one because I got to roll. But LA Gamer says the Rudy Poo of the week, national media for annoying Jimbo and Texas A&M once again, and they'll be going 8-4. I like it. It's a good way to end it. Very good way to end it. All right, guys. We will see. Pooh Bear, you might want to clip this one and put it on. Put it on the Golden Boot Pod. So clip this, put it on the Golden Boot. But our producer Pooh Bear, who is a host on the Golden Boot Podcast, says the Rudy Poo of the week goes to Big Game Boomers Graphics. Guys, do you agree with our producer Pooh Bear that Big Game Boomers Graphics are dookie water? Pooh Bear, are you going to clip it up? You going to put it on the Golden Boot Pod? I'll share it. All right. I'll even send it to Big Game Boomer. Let him defend himself. I didn't say anything. And you better clip this. Put this in here, Pooh. I didn't say anything. This is our producer. They're about to break Twitter. All right, guys. Pooh Bear about to break Twitter. All right, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll have a full breakdown of LSU's practice and scrimmage. Until then, we'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.